All right, so you saw we got that box off, we got the box moved, it's all tucked away. I just did a little work off camera here. What I did is I just took out the shop vac and got all the crap, the loose rust and dirt and crap out of there, and you can see the channels are clearer now. We have some significant things we have to fix. So you can see over here on this rail, this is where the wood was, where that step up was that I told you, how you can see how it thinned so much right in here. You can see it physically thinned it. It's the same over here on this side. You can see it physically thinned it in here, and the rivets are decayed for where the bracket's coming in. So we're gonna have to do some work with there. We knew we were gonna do something in this area anyways because we need to get it level. We don't want the down drop, so we're gonna go and do that. Same with in here, you can see any place where they had wood, it decayed. So don't do that, guys. If you do put wood, do fiberglass, either fiberglass over the top of it or epoxy. Make sure you epoxy coat it so that it won't keep moisture in it, and it'll get rid of the moisture. I would recommend that you don't put wood on it at all because it get trapped underneath. Or put some kind of sealant so you can seal it so it doesn't get in there. You can see they've got some decaying in here. I mean, nothing that can't be handled, because we're going to box these rails to make them really tough. We'll box them off. We're going to put new, we'll go up at least 3 inches, probably 2.5, 3 inches for when we're going to mount everything up onto it. For that, I think what we're going to do now is we'll take it outside. I'll set you guys up. Look at that big chunk of metal came off of that. From there, you got some more sitting here that we'll have to hit with a scraper to pop off, but trust me, it's going to pop off. That used to be all metal for the thickness of that. Again, decaying. The rivet heads that we'll have to either punch out or do something with, weld them in, or whatever we're going to do. But let's go ahead, let's pull it out, let's hit it with the pressure washer on high pressure, knock as much of the crap in and out of that. We'll roll it back in and do a scraping on it, get it as clean as we can so we can expose everything. And then we'll figure our plan for what we're going to do to spruce it up. Do we drop all the suspension components on the back and the rear axle? We're going to rebuild the rear axle anyways. In terms of it's got a totally open floating now. We might want to put a posi on it. We'll have to see about that. Potentially, if we can find it, probably from a C50. A C60 is really big, but from a C50, maybe 2-speed. If not, what we might do is put a gear vendors on there so that we can, once we pick it up and we're cruising on the highway, we can go ahead and have some cruising gears. But she's off, she's together, she's got some errors we need to fix. We got here that we need to straighten up. It also bent down at the bottom, you can see right here where it bent. So we got all those areas that we're going to go over, and we'll take care of that. We'll get this frame all set up for where we're really comfortable with it, and we'll go from there. But right now, let's go ahead and let's pull her outside. Let's set up the camera. Let's do a high-speed pressure wash on it, and we'll go from there. So hang on tight. We'll be right back. All right, let's do some pressure washing, shall we? wanting to come out crooked. All right, let's set you up. All right. All right, so we got all the crap blown out of it and off of it. We're gonna let it dry a little bit and we'll pull it back in. And we'll start to pull some of this chunks out of this frame that are metal and not dirt and crap. All right, so stay tuned. We'll have that coming up next. Good morning. So we're back at it here on the C30, of course, and we've gone through and we've cleaned off the frame so that we can see what we got going here. So let's go ahead and let's discuss a couple of things that we see here and that we're going to take care of on doing this. Okay, so remember we talked about the sections with the that they had a lift point here so it would level the bed out, and they used wood down here, and you can see where they had the wood. It's seriously pitted and it has seriously thinned these sections of the frame. I mean, you can look how deep, see how deep these sections are right here. It's also decayed the top of the rivets for the cross member supports on both sides in this area. We've also had a little bit of that going on here, where we have the overload spring pads mounted to it. You can see a little bit of decaying in here. The rivets on it are okay. They're not too bad, in too bad a shape. And right here where we have the shock mounts on it, we've decayed and lost on both sides a little bit. Other than within this pad stop, we've had some decaying a little bit there, but that can be cleaned out and taken care of. And then over on here you can see where we've had some thinning on the frame like that. The rest of the frame, though, as you look it over, it's got surface rust on it, but it's in pretty good shape. This is the other spot opposite where the other shock mount is here. So I think this is how we're going to attack these weak areas. What we're going to do is we're going to come out, we're going to find good metal, and we're going to cut these areas right out. We'll go ahead and we'll pull the rivets out. We'll pull off what brackets that we need to. I'm going to leave the brackets here in place, but we'll pull the rivets out and we'll have the rivets holes. And then what we'll do is on each of these areas that need to be redone, we'll, in those areas, cut them out, leaving the bracketry in place, but pulling it off such it'll come off. And then we'll weld, I believe this is like a 1/8 channel here. We'll use 1/8 steel, and we'll put sections, and we'll weld those sections back in. And then we'll use bolts to go ahead and bolt the frame pieces back on. So we'll get a nice, we'll do the repair on the frame, get the thin parts taken care of, everything cleaned up and remounted, so it's in, so they're in good position to do what they're going to do. Because probably what we're going to do with these suspension components is when we do the suspension, we'll probably go to slightly, I mean, they're in an okay shape. They need to be cleaned up, of course, in the surface, but I don't think they're fatigued or anything. So what we'll have to do here is, if we want to keep them, we can probably go ahead and keep them, but we might want to, you know, upgrade them one level. And when we do that, we want to make sure that, because all the load's transferred when you do that. So right now, as it's configured just like this, the specs on it say it can do about 8,000 pounds. If you go to the higher rated tires for the dually, it can go to 9,000 pounds capacity carrying. So that's what we're going to shoot for. We're going to try to get to 10,000-ish pounds of carrying capacity on it without it compressing too much of the springs, so that we have some travel and leeway. The axles will definitely take that. There's no problem. And if we can find higher grade axles, we might put that in. Like, this is a C30. You could go to a C50, and I think you can get a 2-speed in it. I'm not sure. You might have to go to the C60, which would be definitely overkill for it on the differential. Or we can just rebuild this differential and put heavier duty pieces in it and make sure that the structures coming into it are heavier duty. And we can upgrade and do that. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But right now we're going to get the frame solid. What we're going to do is I've come up with a design for the tilt portion of the bed and the bed itself that will run to the inside of the rails. So what'll happen is it'll be just above, almost dead even with the surface of it, but just on the inside of it, to where we don't have to move any of the structure. We might have to relocate. No, probably not. We'll put it just a tad bit above it. And basically the tilt arms will come out to right about here on the structure. And so the whole tilt bed will just come up and tilt. And it'll be C-channels with rollers in it, with receiving C-channels on the bed that slide in and are locked in when they're slid in. The hydraulics will be fixed to the frame, the tilt frame on one end, and to the bed on the other end. So as you extend the bed, it pushes off of the tilt frame, and you'll have your lifter arms just like we had on Big Bertha over there, the F600 that we have, will sit in this area here onto the bed. So as it starts to pull the bed down, the lift arms will be pulled. It'll start to rock it up. The whole thing will rock. It'll come sliding down on the inside of the rails. It'll just come right down on the inside, so nothing's being in the way. Out to here, into this area, and boom, you do that. You winch your thing up. You go ahead, you reverse it, you bring it back up, and you'll be in good shape. And we have a whole clear interior. We don't have to change any of the boxing on the front, any of the frame supports. We can leave them in place. We can upgrade them if we want. We can box them. Here, this is bent, so we'll straighten that out. It's also bent down here. We'll fix that. Any place we think that we need to refortify, against twisting, we'll box and we'll put extra bracing in. So it's really conducive the way the frame is structured to leave all the framework in place and build just a little bit above it. That'll put the deck up, oh, about this high off of that. So in reference to the bed, the base of the bed would probably hit right about here and then go up and over it. So the cars, the trucks that we pull on this will probably just peek up over the top of the beds like that. It'll be very similar to what Big Bertha is, although I think on Big Bertha, let's go take a look at her real quick. The bed may be sitting proportionally a little bit lower. Yeah, I mean the bed, top of the bed's in the bottom 1/3. Will probably be, what are we thinking here? The base of the bed be maybe about the 50% mark, so it'll be just a little bit higher, but this is a real short cab, so it's hard to gauge with that. But it won't be too high. It wouldn't take it off balance. It'll certainly be no higher than the 12-foot bed that was on it, and probably lower than the 12-foot bed, because they had, oh, if we look at that 12-foot bed, let's go ahead back over and look at it, because it's sitting on Big Bertha. I believe they had, yeah, those are what, probably 8 inches. That was up at least, and then it sat on top of that too, with the bracketing pieces. I don't know if you can see there. Let's go ahead and turn the light on. In there like that. The bracketing pieces on top of the wood, so it had an 8-inch left, and they were sitting on top of the frame rails that were already there. So I mean the total lift height was 8 inches plus another 6 inches, so 15 inches above where the off of where the deck is, and we certainly won't be that high. We're going to use probably 3-inch thick wall tubing to go ahead and construct the bed out of, and then we'll have cross members that'll be stuck this way going the lost way. So you got the main frame rail done, and then it will be fortified this way, tucked up and in, so you're not going to have any more than 3 inches. And then you're going to have your C channels will be attached to that, maybe offset a little bit because they got to slide in depending on how we attach. And the whole bed will just slide into that tilt deck. It'll be locked in between the rollers. It can't move side to side. It can't tilt on that. The rails will be supported up at the front. The rails will be supported coming across here. So when the bed comes up and tilts, it should be really strong and really good. Now remember, we're also trying to do the last 6 feet to flip back up on itself and tilt back so you can get access, because we want to do it as a tow vehicle too and be able to put a trailer on it. And it's hard to trailer, you know, when you got 6 feet of bed coming off of the back of where the trailer connection pieces will be. So when we go ahead and we build that off, we're working on that mechanism, looking at many different designs. The biggest issue with it is not mechanizing it so we'll flip and get out of the way. That's not hard to do. What it is dealing with the weight, because you know that's on a lever arm and it's 6 feet, 7 feet worth of metal gate, the decking that you're trying to flip up and roll back onto the back to give you access. So that's what we're dealing with right now, is what's most appropriate. How do we do that? Can we do it? I still think we can do it. I'm going to continue to look at it and beat on it. If I determine that we can't, then it'll blow up into 2 projects. We'll have the appropriate size rollback, and then we'll probably maybe find a matching one that's got a shorter wheelbase that we do a custom tow vehicle on for it. So we'll see what happens. We'll just keep going. All right, so we will be back here shortly once we get stuff set up to go ahead and mark this and start to do the work on it. And you'll see us crossing our fingers that we do it correctly and putting in new metal on that. So stay tuned. We will be back. Well, good morning. I hope everybody's doing fine. So we're back on the C30 here. And if you recall, we had some sections on the C30 that where they had wood and it decayed the metal on it. And our decision was we're going to cut those out and we're going to put in new metal in those places. You can see it's also decayed some of the rivet heads. So what we're going to do today to get started here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take my trusty grinder. I've had this grinder for many years, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to grind off the head of these rivets right here to see what we can do about getting them popped out of here, or whatever we have to do to make things work here as we get set up to cut this out and put new metal in there. So if you guys will hang on, we'll go ahead and set you up on the tripod here, and we'll take a grinder to it. And I do have a pair of safety glasses right here, so never fear, and we'll see what we can get going. All right, let's point it down. Keep you clear of the sparks that are going to fly. Pop on some safety glasses, and let's see if we can't. Fogged up glasses because it's really humid here. Let's take a look a little bit closer. You can see here where we do have one that's dimpling out. The other one you can just start to see a crack line forming. The other one's maybe a little bit more grinding here, or we can pop them with a punch and see what happens here, to see if we can't get those to release from the frame, so we can cut the frame out, pull it up, then probably have to grind them off some more, either to put, the plan is to put bolts in their places when we do that to keep this together. The rest of them, you know, they're rust covered, but we'll clean them up and give them some spray paint here. So yeah, if you look at this from an angle, you can start to see that one come in. So you can start to see this one come in. This one has, yep, right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab a hammer here and see if we can't pop them with a punch and see what happens, see if they'll break free a little bit. So let me get all the tools out for that, and we will be right back. Whoops. Ultra tilt. All right, so we're back. I'm gonna actually lower you guys on the tripod a little bit here. Get ready. Here you go for the ride. All the way down. Get you lower, closer to the action. There we go. Get you forward. All right, so we got the punch, we got Thor. Give it a whack. Oh yeah, that one popped right out. That one popped right out. Let's see if this one will break free. This has got a little edge on it, but Whoa! That one's gonna need a little bit more grinding. Let me just fire the punch across the room. Hang on. All right. Gonna need a body shield if I keep that up. Let's see if these other will dimple when I smack them. A little bit here. No, I'm gonna need to do more grinding on those. Those most definitely want to hang in there. Oh, that one's starting to move a little bit. Yep, that one's going. 2 out. There we go. Broke free. Let's see if we pound on these a little bit. That one's breaking free. Boom. Another one out. All right, let's see if this baby will pop. Last one. Boink. Got them all. Let me show you. You can see right there. They popped right out once we freed them up. So now when we cut this section out, we'll be able to lift it right off and keep that bracket in place. Go down, marked up where we're going to have it, drill the new piece, and then go ahead and weld it in. I don't think we need to pop anything out on that bracket right there. I think we'll be okay just cutting that out there. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that on all the other ones that have rivet pieces. Get this thing all set up over here like that over there, and we'll be back when we've got that done. Stay tuned. All right, so here's a quick update. We knocked rivets out for the bracing on here, and we've gone ahead and we've marked where we're going to go ahead and make our cuts across, and then we're just going to come up the back seam here and cut it out. Same on this one right here. Now these where the shock mounts are, they wouldn't come all the way out, but they did press below the frame, so we'll cut them out and then we'll get them off of the mount. I was thinking of doing something here for the overload landing pad for the overload springs, but I think while we got it open, we'll just, seeing how it is whittled down a little bit, we're just going to clean that up and put a new piece in there as well. We'll come back over to this side, same on this side for the shock mount area. They push down through, they wouldn't come out of the bracket, but that's not a big deal. Like I said, we'll get it out, we mark that, we'll go across the seam along with that, and then over on this side towards the front for that major brace, same thing, we'll go across the seam and cut up there. So I'll bring you back in. We're just going to use a zip wheel to cut that. We'll cut one of them for you. We'll put you on camera, let you see it, and then we'll go and finish up the rest. You don't need to watch an hour's worth of cutting, I don't think. That's a little boring. So we'll go ahead and we'll cut one out, show you how we're going to do it, and then we'll go from there. So stay tuned and we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, so let's get back at it. We have a pile of cutoff disc. We have a grinder with cutoff disc. Let's cut some stuff off. Set you up here on the good old tripod. I'm going to go ahead and work on this section first. Go ahead and get the cuts in it. destroyed that one. Alright, let's do a disc change and we'll be right back. Alright, we're back after a disc change and a change to a plug-in grinder because we were burning through batteries so fast on that one. Let's see how this does. Took that one out. All right, reload. You guys get the idea. Let me finish it up. We'll be back. All right, we're back, and here we go. We got it cut out. You can see that it wasn't that hard. It just took a little bit of time. You have to be patient. You can't try and dig it in deep. You just got to take your time, especially on the long cut. Because it likes to catch. If it catches, it'll make it jump around. If it jumps and smashes, it'll break. I must have broke three of them when I went to a thicker cut off disc that did help. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our piece to fit. We're going to go ahead and get it welded in there. We're going to do the repair on this side first for two reasons. Reason number one, of course, is we don't want to weaken the frame too much by doing all the cuts simultaneously and then going ahead and doing the repairs, but also to see how the repair works out. If the repair works out good, if it looks good, if it feels good, if it's strong, we'll go ahead and we'll do the other repairs like that. But if it comes out where it's questionable or not as strong or as good as I think that it'll be, what we might decide to do is, instead of cutting out everything, is add metal to it. That's another approach that we can do. Is in the areas where we got some of the thinning, is box it so that the load is transferred to the bottom of the rail via the boxing. So we may consider doing that depending on how this repair comes out. But we'll do the repair first. We'll show you guys that, and we'll do an evaluation of the repair once we've got it in there and make the decision on how we're going to approach the rest of this frame. Like I said, not that hard. These vertical cuts, I'll call them vertical, they're just the straight cuts into the frame, are very easy once you get it started. The disc zips right through those. Basically what you need to do is score it to where you want to go, and then score it a little deeper, and score it a little deeper, and just keep going down like that until you get it. I was trying to come in a little bit of an angle here so that we got the corner and was leaving as much as we can there. So we'll come in and we'll do a full perimeter weld even from the bottom. We'll clean it off. We'll get up underneath it and weld it in both spots when we do this, and see how it comes out. But that's the approach we're going to do. So I only got to get metal prep for that. Let me go ahead and do that. We'll show you guys making the measurements and putting it in there and marking it off, and we'll see how it comes out. All right, so we'll be back again. Good morning, back at it again. I wanted to take a second just to do a little side trip. I needed to get a tool. This is the resurfacing tool. This is from Harbor Freight. It's the Bauer line. I have had excellent luck with the Harbor Freight Bauer line. I have a lot of their tools, but this is the resurfacing. The reason I got it was I'm an inside member and they had it on sale. It's usually $149.99. It was for $89.99, so 60 bucks off for it. It comes with the tool, the handle. You get 3 drums, a coarse, a medium, and a fine for doing your work. It gives you all the tools you need. It comes with a decent manual on it. They even gave you additional brushes for it, for the motor, and for when it wears down. I'm not affiliated with Harbor Freight or anything. I just wanted to point it out because, of course, we got to do this chassis, and we'll take a little shot here, put you on camera, and we'll see how it works. We're going to use the aggressive pad first, just to get a little look, and we'll pick a section to do that. But I wanted to call it out. Be aware that it's got a reverse screw, so you actually clockwise to loosen it and counterclockwise to tighten it because of the rotation of the head, and it's just super high quality. So let's go ahead and set you guys up. Just do a little fun resurfacing here over on this frame rail, and see how it works together. Throw on my safety glasses just to make sure. Pull this sucker over. It has a speed control on it, so you can set the speed. To a medium. Take a look at how it did. Wow. Now we'll need the finer ones to get down in there and get a lot of that out, but in terms of taking off the rust, go ahead and get a light on it. It's a lot flatter. It's not as rough as, I mean, hugely different. They say it'll work on flats, rounds, corners, whatever you want to do. You can go ahead and do that, but this will let us knock down all this crap as we're working on this frame here, and get everything together. The repair that we're doing on that frame up front, this is the piece of steel that we're going to use, so we'll cut that off. We'll use the surfacing tool to smooth it out and get it prepped for going on to the chassis, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put it down. We'll draw lines. We'll get it a nice tight fit from the piece that we cut out here. You can see how bad it is. And we'll pop it in, see how it goes. And then we're going to at least do that side because that's in pretty bad shape too. And then from there, like I said, we'll make a decision on whether we're going to actually do these or box them to put additional strength to them. Because they're not, I mean, it's a shock mount and a landing pad, so they don't take excessive stress, and they're still primarily thick. They're just the surfacing cut them back a little bit. So we'll play it by ear on that and see how it goes and see how the resurfacing tool does for the whole thing, and get this thing cleaned up and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and set up and move us forward, and we'll be back to show you some more. All right, so let's update you. We got the piece cut out, and we got the holes marked for where the rivets come through that we're going to bolt. These bolts are too small. They're just there to index it for me. And we have some gaps we're going to have to deal with here. We may have to come up with additional metal in the back before we weld, or we might be able to pull it in with clamps. Blah, 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 blah. Let's speak clearly. We're going to use clamps to pull it up, get it level, and this had to have a little bend in it, as you can see. We'll pull that down. This we're going to put a big clamp right here, right where the brace is, because it is popped up. We're going to want to pull it down a little bit to take care of that, but we'll get it all fitted. We have to put a little extra metal in here. We'll put some weld some to the backing plate of it so it comes and it contacts that. But we'll get this all fitted and together. It's coming together slowly but surely. It's coming together, and we don't really care if we overhang. Just gives us extra metal here. Everything is going to be to the inside and above this part of the rail when the deck for the tilt back comes in. So that's where we stand right now, and we'll show you the next step as we continue along. Okay, we're back. Time for an update. So we got the piece cut out. We got it bent into the formula. You saw that, I showed you. But we got it welded in now, and I knew these are goobery and they look horrible. But it was piling on a lot, and we got a lot of heat. You can see the distortion, or the color on here, and there's also a color change on the back, so we got penetration. We had massive gaps that we needed to fill here and to get it to attach. So what we're going to do is, once it cools, and I may have some very bad splattery ones because my regulator started to freeze up on me, and that probably wasn't giving me a lot of gas. So I'm going to have to take breaks in between it. But we're gonna grind it all down, see what it is, and then we'll go ahead and we'll re-weld again, and we're going to go from the back side as well too. So I think it's a little hot to touch right at this point, but I'll put a big wrench on it, and we'll play with it, and we'll see if anything cracks. Because, you know, I want to know if it cracks. If it doesn't crack, we're in good shape. And we'll grind. It's a process, and we'll do layers. We're going to layer it down. Once we have good weld that's filled a lot of the cracks, we'll come and we'll smooth the weld out and get, hopefully, better welds. I'm horrible. I need a lot of practice, full disclosure. But we'll get it to where it'll be good. I won't stop until it is. And we'll move out from there. So let's let this cool. We'll get a grinder on it and clean it up. See where it's at, and then we'll go from there, bring you on to the next step and get ready to, once we get it smooth, come from the back side and lace them in on the back side and get some good penetration onto the frame. And the frame's really hot, so we got some heat poured into it, so we'll go from there. We'll update you in just a little bit. Okay, so here we are. We ground it out, and I laid down just a little bit more in questionable areas that didn't cover well. Little gaps. They're still boogery, okay, but they're a lot smoother. They're a lot better in terms of the next beads that I laid down on top. It certainly is ugly, but it certainly is strong. I mean, I could put this right next to here like this, and ain't nothing happening. I can hit it with a hammer. Ain't nothing happening. So it ain't going anywhere. Now I tried to pop some tacks on the inside, but that didn't go so well. I don't know if you can see up in there or not. Let's tilt you a little bit. Turn the light on. It got very boogery and splashy. It was hard. I got one in there. I'm tacking, but it's well attached, so we're not going to worry about it. I don't think it's going anywhere, and all force on this is twisty and or downwards on it, so we're going to be just fine. So the next is that one over there. We got to cut that out, and I need more material for that. I don't think I have one long enough to go in there to patch that one up, but we're going to at least do that one, and then the other ones we'll sit and we'll think about just a little bit. Like I said, by the shock mounts here and stuff, yes, we lost some, but I'm not too concerned, particularly if we go ahead and clean it and we do a boxing around them. It should be just fine. The one that's over the landing pad here, where I have the extra piece of scrap, did I put that? Same thing, we can box it. We're going to box wherever we attach for the new structure for the rollback. So we'll box these because right at the very end, you're going to have a tube coming across. It sits on bearings for that thing to rotate on. So we'll box all the ends and all the way around it. Make sure it's good and strong, and box the other points that need to have it. But I think that once we fix this over here, because it's super egregious, it's really deep, and that needs to be fixed. We'll go ahead and we'll cut that one out. We'll go ahead and put a new piece in there. Now that we know what to do, one of my issues was I didn't clean very well on the old frame rail. When I went and did, I got a little bit ahead of myself. So we had to pour heat into it, but we'll do it again just to stick, line all the holes up and make sure it's on there, and I think that will be just fine for what we want. We'll grind it down a little bit more, make it a little prettier, and then hit it with some paint to make sure that it doesn't flash rust on us, and then go do these other areas based on what we think we need to do. And I'm thinking I'm gonna pop these rivets out. We'll get them out. They were being a pain. I'll block underneath it and knock them down, and then we'll do the same thing, put bolts in it to rehold them, and then we'll box right around it, boom boom boom, to make sure that it's good and strong. And this is pitted, you can see it's not pitted through. We'll go ahead and we'll figure out what it'd be primarily for cosmetic. What we might do is come back and put a heavy epoxy, a hardening metal epoxy in it, just to cover it so it doesn't get crap sitting in it. Clean these out a little bit more and maybe do the same things, fill them so that they won't have crap in them, because I mean they're on there, they're not going anywhere, and there's no real wear there, so we'll be okay. And then we'll finish cleaning up with the reconditioning tool and the other stuff and get this frame in shape so that we can add the new structure to it for the rollback. And then we'll go ahead and get ready to do the differential and the suspension in the back, make sure that's all set for what we're doing, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So I'll give you one more final look at the first patch we did, then we'll go and we'll do everything else and look at it once I've got it all ground down and it's looking a little better. All right, so we'll catch up with it in just a little bit. And about 10 minutes later, they're still boogery, but they're ground down smooth, so they look not too bad. They're very, very solid. It doesn't move. Put a little black paint, keep it from rusting. We did underneath it too. So I think that's going to be a good one. Now we're going to do the other side, and then we'll put our attentions, like I said, to these other ones. So hang on tight. All right, so it's all in. We got carriage bolts in where the rivets were. They're rounded off, so they'll be just like the rivet sections on that. So let's now go and get this section cut off, and then we'll go ahead and fit that piece in there and get that welded in. But I'll show you cutting it off, so stay tuned. one piece cut out. We're gonna go touch it up with a grinder and get to work getting a piece ready for it. So we'll bring you back in a minute. Stay tuned. All right, so cut out and cleaned up. We got a nice little square fitting there. We got that rivet out, flatten that out too. You'll notice that this has a little up curve to it, a slight up curve. So the way that we did it the last time, and we're gonna do it here, is I made a little fixture using my anvil, our press plate, and then just puts up on that and put pressure on it. We're gonna heat it. It doesn't take a lot. I would normally use an oxyacetylene, but I don't have any tanks for my setup, so I gotta go get some of those. But we'll just use a standard benzene torch, get it hot, put a little bit more down pressure on it with the clamp, and then we'll take my big hammers. We'll take Thor and Thor's little brother Loki and whack on it to get that little gentle upslope to fit it in there. So we'll show you that once we got it done here. All right, so we got the piece cut here. This is the next day. We got it fitted in here, and it doesn't fit too bad. I've got to take it out though, and I've got to get a little bit more up bend in this, right in this area. It needs to come up a little bit more. When I do that, it'll close the gap here a little bit. It'll come down. We do have some gappy spots like right here, but if we use the clamp like this and we can pull it in, we'll try and do that, and we'll weld down, weld down, weld down. If we get into an issue though where we can't really close the gap, I have a bandsaw, so I have that stock. I can cut some of these little pieces off of it for filler rod. And basically what we'll just do is come up from behind, stick it in like that, and weld them in there into the places where we have big gaps. They take up the space and then fill it in, and that'll take care of the issue. It'll be just as strong. I can come up from the back side, and since it's all virgin metal, it should weld a lot better than to the older stuff. And we should be just a dandy if we can't close those gaps, because I can make as many of those as I need to go ahead and fill it. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull it off. We're going to get that bend in a little bit there. I think it might close the gap everywhere once we do that. And we'll see where we'll go, and I'll show you the results once we got it. So hang tight. All right, so we were able to get it down and get the welds, and these welds went down a lot better, a lot less boogery here. But then they get boogery up in here, and there's two reasons for that. One, bigger gap, so I had to fill it, but we got in underneath, so not only is it contacted on top and butt welded, but it's in the gaps and it's welded. But the other thing is, I've discovered that when I'm welding, if I don't take a break and stop, what happens is my flow regulator for the gas, because we're humid and the gas is expanding when it comes out, it freezes up. This is my tank pressure. This is how much was going in. I had it set for like between right around 24 or so, and you can see it's up here. It's because it's frozen. We'll let it thaw out, pull it off, and reset the gauge. I don't think we broke the gauge at all, but I could tell it was getting a little splattery as I was welding towards the end up on that far end where they're a little bit more boogery, and that's part of the reason why we're doing that. So lesson for me, take a little time, take some breaks. Don't let that expand and freeze up on you. But same things, I've smacked it with a hammer, I put my big wrench on it and pull on it. It's good, it's solid, it isn't going to go anywhere. So we'll grind it down. Any gaps that we find, we'll hit them again, and we'll put the carriage bolts in to get the rivet, to replace the rivets, and we'll have this section done. Now I do think what we're going to do is, this is more cosmetic. It's not really, I mean, you got a little bit of metal loss on these, but I'm going to pop the rivets out. We're going to put bolts in there, and then what we're going to do, rather than cut it out and replace it with metal on both of these shock mounts, these how they are shock mounts, and there's really not a lot missing there. What we're going to do is we'll just box by it. We'll put a boxing section of metal down and box around it. And on spaces like this where we got a little bit of metal loss, but not a lot, but it's ugly, and in here where it's dirty, we're going to clean that out really, really good, jiggle it out, and then we're going to use a thickened epoxy to fill those areas, just to keep the dirt and the crap out, so it doesn't get in there and decay it anymore and seal out the moisture. So that's what we'll do on these sections. We'll chisel these out. once we get it all done, we'll hit it with a little epoxy, not even for cosmetic, just so it doesn't well and keep dirt in it and wear things down that way. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll show you the finished product over here once we got it done, and then we'll move on to these, put some boxing materials around the things, new rivets in them, and then we'll just glue it up and make sure that nothing gets stuck in there to decay it anymore. All right, so hang tight, we'll be back. Okay, there we go. It didn't weld too bad. I mean, it looks bad like the other stuff does. A lot of it laid down better though, because like I said, it was cleaner. And it filled really well in here, so it's welded all the way around perimeter. Can't get underneath, that's really hard to do, but like the other one, yanking on it, hitting it, smacking it, I suppose twist could get to it, but where it is on the rail, I don't think we're going to have any issues with that. I'll show you my welder, what the settings were. I did that. I just used the internal chart, of course, for like 3/16 on 3/16 steel, mild steel, and I'm using an Eastwood ACDC MP201 multi-process. I use straight CO2 in my tank instead of the mix when I did that, and the settings it called for was basically 20 volts, 90.6 on this, 240i for the wire speed, and I use 0.35 wire in my gun, and I usually load up 3 different wires. For a lot of heavy welding, I use 0.035. I'll use 0.03 when I'm doing something like exhaust or something like that, and if I do sheet metal work on the car, I'll usually do like the 0.025 at the lower rates. But that's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I think that they're going to be just fine for what we're doing. Next, of course, we'll attack this. We'll got to get some more metal. We'll go ahead and get some 3/16, very similar to what we have right here on the floor. Some more of that, and we'll go ahead and we'll box on either side, put it up just on the inside. We'll box on either side of the shock mount, pop the rivets out, put new rivet bolt with new bolts in there, the same we did over there, and then we'll just clean this up and we'll just fill it with an epoxy so the spots don't hold any holes. I think it'll be plenty strong enough. And again, like I was saying, we'll do the same here with the overload pads and the other ones if they need it, to block them up so that we don't collect crap in there. Then we'll go and we'll clean this frame up as best we can do that on everything once all the repairs are done, and then we'll turn our attentions to the suspension and the rear end. I think I have found a 2-speed rear end out of a C30 that I'm getting information on and I'm going to look at. I'd love to put a 2-speed in this, and if it has a higher carrying capacity, I'm fine with that too. So we'll see what happens there. So hang on, and we got more to come.